Welcome to this explainer. Today we're diving straight into an absolute classic from the village of Sanpur. It's a story that perfectly captures the age-old clash between business ethics, sheer perseverance, and corrupt power. So let's get right into it. To start things off, we really need to ask ourselves a core thematic question. Can a small, honest business actually survive against a wealthy, corrupt rival? Keep this question in the back of your mind as we meet our protagonist, Sohan, and navigate the incredible ups and downs of his journey. Honestly, it's a situation so many businesses face in the real world today, just on a different scale.
All right, part one, a struggle in the rain.
So, to really understand this, we have to look at the desperate situation our main character finds himself in. We begin in the intensely rainy month of Ashad. In the village of Sanpur, basically the entire community is out farming. But not Sohan. You see, he doesn't own any farmland. Instead, he supports his family by running this humble little chicken biryani stall right under a large tree at the edge of the village. And things are tough. The heavy rains have absolutely crushed his sales, and to make matters so much worse, his daughter is severely ill. This precarious situation hits a boiling point when the arrogant village head, Mukhiya demands Sohan abandon his food stall to do physical labor in his fields. When Sohan politely but firmly refuses, because, frankly, he needs to protect his business and he lacks any farming skills, the Mukhiya becomes completely furious and threatens to ruin him.
Let's move on to part two, the taste of kindness.
Just when things look their absolute darkest for Sohan, he experiences two sudden, amazing acts of generosity that completely flip his fortunes. The first comes from an elder named Hariya Kaka. This is actually the very man who helped Sohan start his stall years ago. Seeing Sohan struggling so much, Hariya Kaka steps up and donates premium, high-quality Basmati rice straight from his own personal fields. He tells Sohan that cooking with this is going to change everything, and man, he was right. The new Basmati rice elevates Sohan's biryani to a whole new level. It creates this irresistible aroma that literally pulls the villagers away from their farm work and draws massive crowds right back to his stall under the tree.
And then comes a massive financial boost. A kind traveling couple stops by in the pouring rain, rates his biryani a perfect 10 out of 10, and hands him an incredibly generous 500 rupee tip. But they specifically instruct him to use it for his sick daughter's medicine. This financial boost, combined with the booming sales from that amazing basmati rice, puts Sohan right back on his feet. But, as we know, success often attracts envy. Which brings us to part three, the jealous Mukhiya's trick.
The Mukhiya is just boiling with jealousy over Sohan's success, so he opens a flashy rival dhaba right across the road. And the contrast in their business models is just staggering. Sohan is completely dedicated to quality, selling at 50 rupees a plate. The Mukhiya, however, starts this dangerous race to the bottom, pricing his biryani at just 20 rupees a plate. Instructed by his servant Ramu, the Mukhiya heavily undercuts Sohan by completely abandoning any sense of food safety. We're talking using cheap, spoiled meat from a local vendor's leftover stock and old, decaying rice from his warehouse. This perfectly illustrates a classic business ethics dilemma, chasing the illusion of short-term gains by totally sacrificing long-term value and community trust.
Now, let's look at the fallout in part four, honesty defeated.
Watching his loyal customers flock to the cheaper 20 rupee biryani, a deeply concerned Sohan tries to protect the village's health. He actually gathers the village panchayat and calls in a food inspector. But during this sudden food inspection, the Mukhiya makes an incredibly arrogant bluff. He says, if there is even 1% adulteration, I will shave my mustache and close the dhaba. I mean, how could he be so confident, right? Well, the night before, a local boy named Kishan, who was tempted by the promise of a hefty bribe, secretly tipped off the Mukhiya about the upcoming inspection. The Mukhiya quickly swapped out all the spoiled ingredients for fresh ones just for that morning.
As a result, the inspection fails to find any wrongdoing whatsoever. The Mukhiya's food passes with flying colors. Sohan, who had bet his entire livelihood on this inspection, is falsely accused by the villagers of just being jealous of the Mukhiya's success. Humiliated and having lost his bet, Sohan is forced to close his beloved stall. In a really tragic twist of fate, the man who refused to abandon his business to work the fields is now forced to become a daily wage laborer in the landlord's fields just to survive, all while the village actively mocks him.
But hey, the story doesn't end there. Part five, justice is served.
The entire corrupt scheme ends up falling apart from the inside. When the informant, Kishan, goes to the Mukhiya to collect his promised bribe, the Mukhiya literally laughs in his face. He refuses to pay and even threatens Kishan with jail time if he dares to speak up. Driven by a mix of intense guilt and sheer panic, Kishan repents. He runs directly to Sohan, who is out sweating in the fields, and confesses everything. Crucially, Kishan reveals that now that the inspection is over, the Mukhiya plans to switch right back to using those cheap, dangerous, spoiled ingredients the very next day.
So they immediately take action and execute a flawless sting operation. First, Kishan approaches the Mukhiya demanding his bribe while the authorities are hiding nearby. Second, the Mukhiya, feeling completely invincible, openly confesses to switching back to the dangerous ingredients to maximize his profits. And finally, the food inspector steps right out of the shadows, catching him absolutely red-handed.
The Mukhiya's exact words sealed his fate. He said, "Today I have started the old low-cost game again. Take this money." Caught on tape handing over a bribe and blatantly admitting to intentionally adulterating the village's food supply, the Mukhiya's fate was entirely sealed. There was absolutely no talking his way out of it this time. Which brings us to our resolution. Justice restored. The Mukhiya is immediately arrested by the police and led away for fraud and endangering public health. Kishan is given leniency for turning state's evidence. As for Sohan, the villagers, suddenly realizing how terribly they misjudged him, offer their most heartfelt apologies. With his reputation totally cleared and his integrity proven, Sohan proudly reopens his chicken biryani stall right back under that large tree, now fully supported by the entire community.
Let's wrap up this explainer with a final, powerful thought. Corruption might win the morning, but honesty wins the day. The Mukhiya's cheap tricks gave him a temporary victory, sure, but it was incredibly fragile. I want to leave you with this question. Does taking the quick, unethical path ever truly pay off in the long run, when compared to the compounding value of genuine community trust and undeniable quality? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I really hope this story gives you something valuable to reflect on in your own pursuits.